to YouTube, Dark Viewer here. And yeah, this is a single video for me today. And possibly another one that might show up later tonight. You might be surprised on what I'm gonna do with that one with the guys. So, but also, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. It is 2024. 2023 was something of a bit of a mixed bag of a year, but I can safely say one of the biggest things that I really enjoyed of that year towards the end was the return of the big G to Japanese studios, Godzilla Minus One. I hardly say that is probably the best Godzilla movie I've seen. And I've seen a lot of Godzilla movies. So that is actually what I'm going to be doing. There's been a tier list made for the big G, and I'll be looking at all of his movies, ranging from the very first one from 1954 all the way down to minus one. And I just realized I don't know why these two are here. These are TV shows. One is necessarily an anime, and this one we'll get to that later. Yeah, I'll have words about that one. So whoever made this list, it's basically I'm just gonna say this is like the big G goat. This one is gonna be the top of the top. It's like everybody has their favorite Godzilla movies, but this one's just mine. We're gonna say awesome. If I can spell right. We'll say enjoyable, meh, bad / garbage, and I'm also gonna just say F is forgettable. It may not be even bad or garbage, it's just forgettable. It's forgettable. So starting us off with the first thing that started the whole thing, Godzilla in 1954, Gojira or Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now this one, I would probably be lynched by a lot of the Godzilla fans for not putting this in the big G GOAT, because it's what started the whole trend. It's what started the whole thing for Godzilla back in the day. So it's like, yeah, no. I also had a lot of fun watching both the Japanese and the original one with Raymond Burr. But it's like, yeah, something about it was like grounded and realistic. I mean, this is post war Japan, and it's like talking about the dangers of nuclear warfare, and Godzilla is always that instrument. It's always that ideology. Godzilla Raids Again. Godzilla Raids Again was when they decided to go full on just I knew what they were trying to do. They were trying to do the whole thing with Godzilla and fighting another monster, but with Anguirus, I like Anguirus. Anguirus is a cool monster, but it's like for limitations, for what it was still enjoyable. It was fun, but oh my god, the Godzilla suit design was not. Oh no, it was not good. But this one though, Godzilla vs. King Kong, back in 1962. God, I feel old. But oh yeah, this was the blockbuster that started the whole versus matchup for everybody. Like, regardless of whichever movie you think started the whole versus genre or just the whole versus formula, like this one is just straight up awesome, and it also was the real reason why a lot of people started liking these types of movies. The cheesiness, the guys in suits pounding on models, it's just fun. It's an overall fun ride. Godzilla vs. Mothra, the very first time we actually see Mothra in the fold. And it's the first two acts of this movie were pretty good. I mean, the very first instance when we see Godzilla, he's rising out of the ground, and that's like something different for a Godzilla film. But when you get to the part where Mothra dies, and it's her babies, the larva forms of Mothra that are fighting Godzilla, and it's like, it got boring. It got really boring. So, for what it was, I would still say enjoyable up until the ending part of the movie. Invasion of Astro Monster. It's Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. The very first time we see the most iconic Godzilla villain, King Ghidorah. Or Ghidorah, Ghidorah. For fuck's sake, just pick a name for God's sakes. But yeah, this one was probably one of the first things we actually get 3 monsters versus 1. And even though it really shows, you just see Godzilla and Mothra. Rodan's in there too. He's just tucked away in the corner. It's like, I don't get why they don't like Rodan. Like, what's wrong with Rodan? He's cool. But yeah, no, this one, it was enjoyable as well. It was pretty enjoyable. I mean, even some English dub is like, oh,
Godzilla, what terrible language!
I'm like, what the hell? So yeah, it's cheesy. It's what it is for that. It's a cheesy, fun movie. Invasion of Astro Monster. This is the one that gave us the meme, the funny parts of the Godzilla series, of the Godzilla dance. It's so random and out of nowhere, but it's like, and this is where we really see the idea of aliens being used a lot more in the Godzilla franchise. Like a lot of the enemies, especially some human elements of the Godzilla movies, like they involve some alien invasion. That's kind of what they kind of fall back on a lot. But Invasion of Astro Monster, awesome. It was an awesome movie. Like the suit for Ghidorah looked better. The effects look pretty good. The comedy, especially like the scene I just said. Yeah, that was an awesome, fun movie. Oh yeah, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. No, to the no, yeah, to the no. Yeah, this is forgettable. This is a forgettable movie. You have Godzilla and Mothra in the movie, but it's like they barely showed up. Like almost like an hour into the movie, Godzilla finally, like the guy's asleep, like he's drunk on a bender half the time. And the human element it felt like I was watching a cartoon. It was like I was watching a cartoon. And then we get to the one that people always criticize about, Son of Godzilla. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I'll also say this is bad. It's a bad movie. I'm just like, oh my god. When I saw Godzilla having a son, and I was like, okay, maybe it could be good. It could be interesting if Godzilla does have a son. And there are genuine moments where Godzilla does show compassion, but overall, he's kind of an abusive father. And also, I kind of would too if Minya looks like this. Absolutely, I would honestly file for child services. Like, no. But it's like Kukumanga, the giant spider, and the giant mantis ones. I'm like, these are weak villains, especially for Godzilla to fight. Like they're bugs. Like they can just blow them apart with his atomic breath. Like it's just, I don't know what they were thinking. Okay, so the movie that was kind of the definitive final that they wanted to do for Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters, back in 1968. And this, they were pulling out all the stops. Like, every single monster got a chance to shine. Godzilla, his son, Rodan, Mothra, Gorosaurus, Varan, and Anguirus, all of us is like fighting against Ghidorah for the final fight. And they just demolish him. He gets, like, no joke, Ghidorah gets curb stomped in this movie. And it's kind of awesome, and that's exactly where I'm going to put it. It was an awesome, fun movie. For what it was, it's supposed to be the final chapter of the Showa era of Godzilla. And then we got more, and I kind of wish they stopped. Because when we got to here, Godzilla's Revenge. Oh boy.
Hell no. Come on, wait. To the no, no, no. Come on, come on. Hell to the no. To the no, no, no.
Literally half this movie was stock footage. It was like, it was used from Godzilla, Son of Godzilla, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, and then you added the kid, the dreams that I could talk to. Oh my god, it was so weird. This was a bad movie. It was garbage. Godzilla versus Hedorah. Now Hedorah is an interesting take for a Godzilla villain. Like, this was what they stepped away from Godzilla being the more antagonist of his franchise and becoming more of like a defender of the earth in a way. And I think this is where Legendary kind of took that inspiration as like a force of nature fighting for the planet, but in his own way. He doesn't really care about humanity. He's just doing it because, hey, this thing is fucking up my planet. I'm gonna do whatever I want. And Hedorah's design, it was like, it's another alien thing, but kind of merges with pollution, and it was. But there were some things that was kind of weird, like weird. But it was also a somewhat of a horror movie in a way. So I'll give it an enjoyable. I'm gonna put it in enjoyable just because. Godzilla versus Gigan. Again, this is like when you stuck to the consistency of from Godzilla 1954 all the way to the story on monsters. You're also begs the question, why is Ghidorah in here when it's just supposed to be Godzilla versus Gigan? I like Gigan. Like, Gigan is a really cool monster. Like, the very first monster to actually make Godzilla bleed. But the alien aspect wasn't that strong this one, and they actually made the Godzilla and Anguirus speak. Like, it was weird.
Something funny going on. You better check. Oh, yeah. Hurry up.
The monster action fights were good, but the human element, oh my gosh, oh man, the human elements, like, at times the human elements are fine, I can tolerate, but there are times when, like, similar to Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, this is like, they infuriated me. So for a mixed bag of what it was, I'll say a meh. I'll give it a meh. Godzilla versus Megalon. Yes, this is the part where we go really cartoony, but this is honestly cartoony in a fun way. Like, it almost feels like a Power Rangers kind of movie. Like, Jet Jaguar was a new kaiju they introduced, and it was actually from a contest that Toho had to try and do a new monster, and someone pitched Jet Jaguar. Somebody's kid did that, and they brought him into the movie. So hey, I would be pretty stoked if that would happen. But Megalon is like, he's like Gigan. He really is. But what's also kind of funny about this movie is that the English translation for this poster especially, they had Godzilla and Megalon on the Twin Towers, and I was like, well, that's different, but the movie was never like that. But I'm gonna give this movie an enjoy because it was referenced on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and also the Godzilla tail drop kick. That was stupid but fun. Okay, so Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Now this is what I thought when I thought Showa was really getting serious. Like, they actually had some pretty serious moments, even with the human elements. Again, like I said, human elements I could kind of be okay about, I could kind of don't give a shit about. But this one is actually interesting, and especially when we first see Mecha Godzilla. And we think it's like, this is Godzilla. Like, why is he attacking Anguirus? Why is he doing this? And then we see two Godzillas, and then blows the face skin away like a Terminator style, and that's awesome. The very first scene when we see Mechagodzilla like shed off that skin, and you see all the close-ups of his arsenal, his weapons, the design, it's really, really nice. Don't know why he's controlled by Planet of the Apes ripoff or Japanese version of Planet of the Apes, but hey, can't explain a lot of stuff. So this movie is awesome. This is an awesome towards the end of Godzilla in the Showa era. But the one that ended the Showa era was 1975's Terror of Mechagodzilla, where this is actually a very interesting take because Godzilla has no allies. Whereas the last one he had a monster called King Caesar join him, but this one it's Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus. And that one, why even bother? Like, that thing is like, has the most annoying cackle ever. But this is where we get some very interesting, like, creative decisions with Mechagodzilla and how Godzilla is supposed to fight two monsters at once that some of the other later movies would take upon. So this one was enjoyable. I mean, it was also the one where they actually set the Godzilla suit on fire, so I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure if the suit actor was okay with that, but hey, it was a good finale. It was a good finale of the original Showa era. So now we're getting to the beginning of the Heisei era with a rebooted Godzilla called Godzilla 1984, or as the US dubbed it, The Return of Godzilla. This brought back Godzilla to his villainous roots, and it was kind of sick. Granted though, the suit was a bit more bulky, and the face design, I don't know. There were some angles like the face design was not the best, but it was a very interesting thing. It was also kind of a subtle sequel to the original 1954 Godzilla, ignoring all the others. So it's kind of a reboot, but not. You would call it a requel or something like that. That's kind of the term we would say here in Hollywood. And even they even got Ray Stevenson, Raymond Burr back in there. It's like, yeah, so it's kind of fits that this is like a sequel to the original movie. So for what it was, there were some parts of it that were just boring, so you kind of put it in enjoyable or meh. I'm still gonna say enjoyable because it was still a fun movie. So now we're getting back. Now Toho's getting back to the versus thing with Godzilla versus Biollante. Now this is a very underrated Godzilla movie. I didn't even see this at Blockbuster back in the day. Like, that's how that makes me feel how old I am. If anyone remembers Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, like, this one is a very underrated idea. Like, this is another original take of a Godzilla villain, Biollante, who's like a combination of a Rose DNA, Godzilla DNA, and even human DNA. And it's like, that's something interesting. And the final design of Biollante, which is like, this poster kind of fools you, like, yes, this is actually one of the forms that she has, and that's also a fun thing. Like, Biollante is actually one of the few only female confirmed kaiju aside from Mothra. So for what it was and how much I thought this was a fun idea, I'm gonna give this an awesome. It's an awesome take on the Godzilla formula. I think a lot more people should really look at. So now, since Godzilla vs. Biollante didn't really do that well, the Toho started to bring back more of its original villains for Godzilla to fight, like this: Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, where they actually say King Ghidorah. So this is actually one of the most unique Godzillas. Like, you actually see the origin of both Godzilla and Ghidorah, but you also have humanity from the future, which they thought were aliens, but they were actually there to destroy Japan with Ghidorah. And they erase Godzilla from time, and they try to get, and then they make their own new Godzilla, which is angrier and more powerful, and just mops the floor again with Ghidorah, even blowing off one of its heads. That's also when we get some of the mechanized kaiju, like we got that with Mechagodzilla in the 70s. Now we got Mecha King Ghidorah, which I was kind of hoping we were gonna get in one movie, but I'll save that rant to when we get to that movie. But Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, also it was an awesome movie. It was a really well done movie. Godzilla versus Mothra, again, this is like the new time we're gonna bring in Mothra. And again, Mothra is not, you can't really do too much with Mothra because it's a flying kaiju. You can't get too rough with it with the guy in the suit. But it also brought in a different version of probably a Mothra villain. It was a villain called Batra. And Batra was actually kind of interesting, I'm not gonna lie. But it was still kind of the same formula in a way as Godzilla vs. Mothra, but I'm gonna give it, yeah, that's kind of hard. I'm gonna give it a enjoy. You know what? I'm making a second decision. I'm gonna move Godzilla vs. Mothra, the original, back to meh, because that, more look back on it, that ending is kind of weak. Okay, the one I got. This is the one I actually rented and re-rented and re-rented and re-watched so many times. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Which, if you look at it chronologically, should be the third time we're seeing the character. But they call it Mechagodzilla 2, so what? I don't know. But this is actually a really fun movie. Like, it has some of the cheesiness, but also has some of the grittiness that the 90s were doing. And it was also some of the first times we actually see Godzilla actually in a lot of pain. Like, Mechagodzilla like harpoons him. They blow out one of his brains in his hips. And it's like, damn, this is good. Plus the music. The music in this probably was the best ones that Akira Fukube actually did. So this, easily enough, is going into awesome. I would put in the GOAT, but it has to really compete with this one. It really does. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. If you watch 90s cheese, this is by far the cheesiest Godzilla movie. But it's also one of the most fun. And I'm gonna probably say that as enjoyable. Like, I get it. Like, Space Godzilla is not the most original name for a kaiju, but the design-wise looked pretty damn threatening. And I'm kind of hoping, or else I did hope, because they already confirmed this for Legendary, that Space Godzilla is not in the next one, which I'm kind of mad about. But either way, like, this was also kind of fun. Okay, the final film of the Heisei era, Godzilla vs. Destroyer. This one, oh boy, did they pull out all the stops, because funny enough, this was the actual end of the Godzilla series for a period of time. Like, this was like similar to how DC did the Death of Superman. They actually did the same thing with this one, with Godzilla dying. It was actually a pretty big deal. It even made US news here, which is like, why would we care? This is a Japanese product. Why would this make a headline? But holy crap. The movie itself, having the monster Destroyer being formed from the oxygen destroyer that killed the first Godzilla. So it's actually kind of cathartic that this is like tied to the first movie of what actually killed the first Godzilla to now try and kill this one. Also, burning Godzilla. Need I say more? So yeah, this one is also one of the GOATs. It is one of the GOATs. Garbage. This is not Godzilla. It's not. I hated the fact that they actually tried to pawn this off as a Godzilla title. It really makes no sense when you literally had an idea. You had a good idea to go with Godzilla from a previous filmmaker, not Roland Emmerich's stupid idea to make him a giant iguana and run away. No, this is not. And you know it's bad when we get to another version of the character later. So this is easily a freaking garbage bottom of the barrel. Bottom. And it was probably one of the things that actually made a big fuck you to what happened, to say like, you know what? We apologize on TriStar, even though they're not going to admit it. Toho decided to come back with the Millennium series. And the first one started off with Godzilla 2000. And that's actually probably, that's the one with actually one of my favorite Godzilla designs. The spikiness, the edginess, how they made his dorsal fins, his face is a little bit more like wolf-like, reptilian. The plot though is a little weird. And this is also when they actually brought in a bit of CGI, and it wasn't the best. But either way, no, it was kind of enjoyable. It was kind of enjoyable for what it was. And Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. Interesting idea, but the whole thing with wanting revenge on Godzilla just for being himself, like that's what like one of the human female main characters is like having a vengeful grudge against Godzilla for killing their family, even though like it's just Godzilla being Godzilla. That's what he does. He doesn't care. And the whole idea about like black hole time warp, and that's how Megaguirus came in, but it's like, again, it's the problem with Mothra. When you have a flying kaiju against a bipedal kaiju, you can't have the two of them be too rough with each other. So it's mostly a bunch of special effects, and it didn't really do that well. So I'm gonna give this a meh for just the idea alone. Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, giant monsters all out attack. God damn, who came up with that title? But yeah, this was actually kind of a mixed bag, but this is also funny as hell because they actually roasted this version. And like when they actually did that, everybody in the audience laughed and cheered because it's like, take that, America. But for what it was, this one, like, it was kind of weird. Like, you have Mothra and Baragon, and Baragon was kind of thrown away. Mothra, you understand why he's good, but why is Ghidorah on the good side? It's kind of weird. Like, when you're so used to a character being a villain, like, just seeing them, like, this is the only time he's good. The only time Ghidorah is good. So it's like, kind of, what? And some of the special effects were good, and like the filmmaker, the director, I even wanted to get rid of the atomic aspect completely, but he combined it with the whole fact of having ghosts from World War II form a new Godzilla with the atomic energy. So for what it was, I'll give it an enjoyable. I'll give it an enjoyable just for having that idea. Okay, Godzilla X Mechagodzilla. Or this is what they normally say is Mechagodzilla 3, but they also call him Kiryu. And honestly, I like Kiryu. I like the Kiryu design a lot more than Mechagodzilla 2. Even though I like that movie, I like how this is like very much taking the homage from the 1970 Mechagodzilla, but still having that sense that it's still made of metal from Mechagodzilla 2. But the plot, though, has a bit of an interesting concept when you actually have the bones of the original Godzilla form the new Mechagodzilla design. But everything else is kind of generic. It's kind of back and forth, okay. So I'll give this a meh, just, I don't know. But this is the only time, like, a lot of the other Millennium series of Godzilla movies didn't really have a lot of connection. There wasn't really a lot of consistency. This is the only one that actually got it, so I was kind of surprised. With Godzilla Tokyo SOS. This one was a little bit better. This was a little bit better for me with having Mechagodzilla 3. Like, it actually talks about more about the ghost of the machine, like in the bones, like it still remembers it's Godzilla, so it even lose control of Kiryu. And the Mothra fairies talk about they have to bring back Godzilla's bones to the sea, or else Mothra's gonna get pissed. And then Mothra, of course, dies, has the larva fight, and that's kind of all over the place. But a lot of the special effects were really good, and Godzilla's design in the fights there was like pro wrestling fights. But the final one, literally, of the Godzilla Toho series back in 2004, Godzilla Final Wars. This one, they pulled out all the stops. This was supposed to be the big, like, this is it, guys. This is it. This is our last Godzilla movie. And boy, did they cram a lot of stuff in there. But still, it was enjoyable. It's an enjoyable movie. Like, not all of it was fun. And especially when Godzilla doesn't really show up until halfway through the movie. But when he shows up, they are making damn well sure they got their money's worth with him. And also, some of the monsters were kind of wasted. But this is also what I'm saying, how Toho bought the rights to this one, rebranded it to call it Zilla, and murdered it on screen. Yeah, like, I know, you think you're a Godzilla? In name only. I'm the king here, bitch. But also was probably a good big fuck you to the TriStar Godzilla was when we waited for another 10 years when the Big G was on a break. Legendary Warner Brothers got the rights to do Godzilla 2014. This is much more of a Godzilla movie than 1998 was trying to be. And this design, I love this design. I don't know why so many people hated it. Like, this is what I think an American Godzilla would be like as another interpretation of the character. So, this one is an awesome movie. It's an awesome, fun Godzilla movie. But when we thought Japan was done and bowed out, no. They actually came back with another one. They came back with basically a reboot of their franchise. Shin Godzilla or Godzilla Resurgence. Hence, reintroducing the character. This one, it's very talky, with not a lot of Godzilla action until you really see him. And when you see Godzilla, it's like you don't really see him as himself until a little bit later. Like, he's kind of like, they kind of did this whole like evolution, like he's evolving, adapting himself. But there are times when it's just like, I'm kind of bored. So, it's difficult. Like, there are, like, the climactic fight was fun, but oh man, it was a lot of waiting for that to happen. So I'll give it a meh. I'll give it a meh, especially with the director of Evangelion was actually in charge of this, so it was kind of convoluted as it can. The Netflix Godzilla movies are freaking forgettable. I don't know what they were thinking. Why did they turn Godzilla? I don't get it. Like the first one, I would say like at least the first one was meh, because at least it was still kind of true to Godzilla, just set in the post-apocalyptic future. But these two, no, I would not watch these again. Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. I was so hyped for this movie. So much so when I went to WonderCon with a couple of friends of mine, they actually played us the newest trailer and also a special clip where we saw Ghidorah. And oh my god, the fight scenes. Like, here's the thing, I am so sick and tired of hearing people say the human element is not what we focus on when we watch these movies. Yes, it is true, but you gotta know you can't have a Godzilla movie without the human plot interwoven with it. That's just how it is. I'm sick of hearing that argument. And also the critics saying like 2014 had not enough Godzilla, and then they're complaining about this one having too much Godzilla. I'm just like, I love this movie. Like, this was easily like one of the GOATs. It's one of the GOATs to me. Like, they really made Godzilla like Godzilla again. I love this one. I love 2014, but this one definitely brought it to new standards. The rebooted Godzilla vs. Kong. This was fun. It's a fun movie. My problem with it though is that it focuses a little too much with Kong. Like, we don't really get a lot of Godzilla in this movie. And when we got Godzilla, it's like they really wanted to make him the bad guy. I'm just like, I've seen this before, guys. We know it's not Godzilla doing this. We know it's something else. Also, when you spoiled Mechagodzilla, which honestly for me, I wish it was Mecha Ghidorah, because we saw the dismembered head at the end of King of the Monsters in the last movie. So why not do that? That's a perfect opportunity. And it's just how they beat Mechagodzilla. I don't like that. So what it was, I mean, I'll still say it's enjoyable when the monster action's there. It's good. But man, did they fumbled the ball with certain stuff. Okay. One of the better animes, Godzilla Singular Point. It's kind of meh to almost forgettable. Like, oh my god, the plot. Red dust with like temporal contradicting timelines. The future becomes the past, but it's also the future. I'm just like, oh my god, my head hurts. I mean, I like the Godzilla design in this one. It's a really nice design for Godzilla Ultima, and also the scene where he uses atomic breath on it. I'll give it a meh. Just because like it's not the worst Godzilla anime, as you know, but it's just not enough. Monarch. Legacy of the Monsters. Yeah, no. This is a bad... I had expectations for this. I thought this was going to be fun. And it was fun for the first 2 episodes. And then we focused on relationships and family matters and all this. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, I literally saw Godzilla with 5 minutes of screen time in a grand total of 3 episodes. In 3 episodes, you get like 5 minutes, maybe 8 if you're leaning towards like when he actually shows up in some of the recent episodes. But no, we haven't seen any other monster except for like 2, and even their appearances were brief. I just don't think Legendary or anybody, or I don't know if it's Legendary or some of the writers they just don't understand how to do Godzilla. I just don't see it. So yeah, that's why this is bad. Like, this is a dud. It sucked. But the final one, pun intended, we got most recent Godzilla, -1. And I have mentioned to my friends as well as to my family, is like, this is the best Godzilla movie I have seen. Like, as much as the first one. It's probably even better than the original. Like, critically, it was like near 100%. Audience viewing was like near 100%. Like, this kind of felt like a damn near perfect movie for Godzilla standards. The human elements were actually very well handled. Like, it actually deals with survivor's guilt, PTSD, and then you threw in the Godzilla parts. Like, this is taking place literally right after World War II. And I'm just like, this is something different. It's a different take of Godzilla. And oh my gosh, some of the scenes in there, I'm like, my face was, that's how wowed I was. Like, and it took, like, there weren't a lot of movies last year in 2023 that made me feel wowed when I left the theater. So this one, it is the GOAT. It is like it is almost you know what? No, I think it is surpassing the original Gojira. Like, this, I can't really name you one bad thing wrong I have with that movie, aside from maybe what they're trying to show with the main female lead showing up at the end. Spoiler alert if you don't know. But it's like, I kind of want to lead that into a sequel and explain what's going on there, because the sequel to this actually felt a little bit better of a cliffhanger than it was for Shin Godzilla. So yeah, this is the Big G's tier list, and I feel like I was fair enough. As a true Godzilla fan, this is the list. So yeah, be sure to like and comment down below. Tell me what you think should have been a part of it. Which Godzilla movie would you rank above or below? Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video, possibly tonight. Have a good one.